Welcome to Agriculture in Review, a news program of current interest to South Dakota farmers and ranchers, prepared by the South Dakota Farmers Union. This is Allan Burke. There can be little doubt that the executive branch of government has usurped vast powers normally attributed to the U.S. Congress. The 93rd Congress will spend much time and energy in attempting to regain those powers. Several senators have already announced plans to introduce legislation defining the limits of the president to wage war, to impound funds, and to ignore the will of Congress. Other lawmakers have suggested that the legislative branch may have to take the executive branch to court to settle the power struggle now underway. Agriculture has experienced firsthand the near dictatorial powers of the executive. The president has ignored a unanimous Senate resolution on pricing provisions in the International Wheat Agreement. He has impounded funds and cut farm programs at will. Although he has taken a solemn oath to uphold the Constitution, which directs him to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, he has, in effect, killed laws by refusing to carry them out. While Congress refused to give him unlimited powers to cut spending wherever he pleased, he is doing just that. Without so much as a phone call to Capitol Hill, he has terminated the Farmers Home Emergency Loan Program, the Water Bank Program, the 2% REA Loan Program, and the Rural Environmental Assistance Program, also called REAP. The Soil Conservation and Domestic Allotment Act states that Congress recognizes the erosion of natural resources is a menace to the national welfare, and that it is the policy of Congress to provide permanently, and we emphasize that word permanently, for the control and prevention of soil erosion, to control floods, to prevent impairment of reservoirs, maintain the navigability of rivers and harbors, and to protect public health and public lands. Even while announcing the impoundment of $85 million in REAP funds last September, the USDA seemed to recognize the necessity for conservation programs. It said that the 1973 program would strengthen conservation and diminish air and water pollution. It reiterated its policy that the program would emphasize practices which help to provide long-range preservation of the environment and return great benefits to the public. But these ideals have been recklessly abandoned under the guise of thrift. The USDA says that since farm income is up, and let's remind ourselves that it's still only 78% of parity, there is no need for conservation programs. Suddenly, REAP cost-sharing funds to preserve the environment for all the people are termed income supplements to the farmer. The fact that the farmer pays half of the cost out of his own pocket is ignored. The incalculable damage to the environment if these practices are not continued is also ignored. Similarly, there is no mention that the county committee system is endangered, since some 400 ASCS offices would close, and thousands of ASCS personnel would be released from other offices around the country. And let's remember that that includes South Dakota. Congress also saw the need to enlist the aid and generosity of the nation's farmers to establish additional preservation of marshlands on their farms for waterfowl habitat. Suddenly, while admitting that the program was initiated by recent legislation, the USDA now says it is considered unnecessary since the Interior Department has similar programs. The 92nd Congress saw fit to strengthen the Farmers Home Administration in the Rural Development Act, but the executive branch suddenly decided that it is unnecessary to provide low-interest Farmers Home Administration loans to farmers in disaster areas. The budget ceiling excuse is serving at least three basic goals of the administration. First, by weakening the USDA, the president strengthens his arguments for government reorganization and the total abolishment of the Department of Agriculture. Second, by reducing and terminating farm programs, the administration takes a giant step in its stated goal to get the government out of agriculture. A third inherent goal is realized by grabbing more power away from the legislative branch. For self-preservation, among other reasons, Congress should demand, either through new legislation or through the courts, that all farm programs be reinstated and fully funded. Anything less would be a victory for executive domination and a defeat for the Congress and the American people. With that, we'll close another edition of Agriculture in Review.